Today I will be talking about all the books that give me autumn vibes and why they give me autumn vibes and why you should read them. If you wait till the end of the video, I also have 2 bonus recs that are picture books that are the cutest and they give me autumn vibes. But for the rest of the video, we're going to be talking about books that are a little bit more mature. And with that, let's get into the video. First, we are talking about The Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater. This book literally takes place in October and November, which is, I think, enough reason for it to be autumn vibes. But on top of that, we have flesh-eating water horses. So you have a little bit of like creepy to go along with your October-November story. This is about 2 characters who live on this island that really a lot of the island lives on the economy of horses and the flesh-eating water horse race that happens every November. And these characters have very different reasons for entering the race, and they both must win this race. And it is a slow burn story with all the autumn vibes. Next is Jackaby. This is a supernatural mystery. We are following a character as she arrives in London for the first time seeking employment, and she gets employed as the assistant of Jackaby, who is able to see the supernatural. On her first job, they are investigating a serial killer, and the police are certain that the serial killer is a human, and Jackaby is certain that the serial killer is not human. We may or may not have a banshee in this story too, so definitely your supernatural autumn vibes. Next we have Elantris. This basically has a zombie city in it, except they're not dead. So in this book, actually prior to the book, we have this city where people could catch the disease of the gods, and they get to enter this immortal city where everything is beautiful and lush and perfect, except that is no longer, and magic broke in this city, and the city is crumbling. It is dirty. It's basically people walking around in this city like lepers. Whenever they get a cut or an injury, they no longer heal. And our main character of this book catches the immortal city disease and is shunned and has to go live with these people and figure out what's going on and what's wrong with the magic. Next we have A Monster Calls. This, as you can see, it kind of looks like maybe there's not very many pictures in the section that I just flipped through. I feel like the pictures alone give it autumn vibes, but this story is about loss and letting go. Our main character is dealing with his mom having cancer, and he gets visited in the night by this spirit who tells him stories and talks him through his grieving process and also demands the truth from him. And you find out what the truth is that the spirit is looking for by the end of the book. But definitely a heavy topic, but also just, I think, themes of loss and letting go are very autumn-like, because autumn is also a transitional season, and it's all the leaves are losing their trees and you're like letting go and having winter autumn vibes. Next we have A Sorceress Comes to Call. This is my favorite Kingfisher book. I absolutely loved it, and it definitely has autumn vibes because we have like an undead headless horse. What can I say? This is a story about a girl who's growing up with her mother, and her mother is a sorceress who can control your body, and she can make it so you can't flick away a fly if it lands on you. And they go to this mansion of this rich bachelor, and we also get to meet the rich bachelor's sister. and she realizes that something's not quite right here, but she doesn't know exactly what's going on. But she has this premonition that doom is coming to her house, and then she sees the sorceress as doom and is trying to warn her brother, who does not heed her advice. Next we have Sorcery of Thorns. This is about a character who grew up in a magic library and is afraid of wizards because how they power their magic is by summoning a demon and binding the demon to them, and then, you know, pulling on the demon's power. Of course, she ends up getting whisked away from her quiet life at the library to living with a sorcerer and his demon, and realizing that there are other sorcerers with larger plots at play that plan to take down the world as they know it. Next, we have A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking, which also has an undead horse in it. I think T. Kingfisher has something with horses. In this book, we have our protagonist, who is a bakery wizard and can only do magic on baked goods, but someone's been murdered in her bakery and she is a prime suspect, and she accidentally gets whisked into this plot to overthrow the kingdom, and then she decides to defend the kingdom, and she has to look for creative ways to use baked goods to defend the kingdom. Next, we have Untethered Sky by Fonda Lee. This is another book about loss and letting go. Our main character witnesses the murder of her entire family by a manticore, and she decides to become a manticore hunter to avenge her family. And in order to become a manticore hunter, she bonds with a rock, and they share a bond as they go hunting manticore. But she also has to confront her feelings about loss and revenge, and she has to learn to let go. Next, we have A Study in Drowning. This has fall vibes because our main character can see, I don't remember what he's called, but he's basically this spirit that appears to her and is written about by her favorite author, and she gets the opportunity to go to her favorite author's house and redesign it because she is an architecture student, and she also meets a literature student who is trying to dig up dirt on her favorite author. She's not happy about that, but there's definitely something creepy going on in this house. It may or may not be haunted, and this book just has gothic vibes and definitely very autumn. Next, we have Sky in the Deep, which is mostly on this list because it takes place in fall. We have two Viking clans who are in decades-long war with each other, and our main character gets kidnapped by, or gets captured by, the other Viking clan and ends up living with them all winter, and discovering that her preconceived notions about them might not be correct, and they might be, you know, more human and likable than she thought, and B, that there is a bigger threat out to get both of the Viking clans, and they probably have to work together, and she might be the only person who can convince her clan to work with their enemy clan. Next, we have The Will of the Many. And this is maybe a stretch to put on this list, but we have zombie people who live in a cave in this book, and you have to read it to know anything more. I'm not explaining it further, but when you get there, you will know. Also, the audiobook narrator really makes that scene creepy. So there's that. This is about a boy with a hidden past who gets blackmailed into going to this prestigious academy and trying to solve a possible murder, possible suicide mystery, not really sure. There are academy students ending up dead. The academy says they're suicide, but some people are not so sure. And he's sent to investigate and find out, and he also has to work his way up in the academy rankings in order to properly investigate and then get where he needs to be in society, where there's these like warring factions over the magic system. It's complicated. It's a very complex, detailed, layered book. And finally, if you're looking for something more cozy, definitely check out Bookshops and Bonedust. While this book is absolutely all the cozy vibes, we do have a talking skeleton in it. So definitely fall plus cozy vibes in this book. This is about our main character who is injured and has to sit out all the fighting, and ends up befriending someone who is opening a bookshop and trying to, you know, fall in love with reading and also figure out how to make the bookshop a success. On top of, there's probably some like evil thing that's trying to disrupt all of their plans. And now for the honorable mentions. The first one is Bats at the Library. This is an absolutely adorable picture book where bats get into the library because the library window was left open. And they love when the library window is left open because they can go in and explore the library and also read stories to each other. It's about the adventures the bats have in the library. And it also talks about the stories that they read, but they imagine all the characters as bats. So we have Little Red Riding Hood and Robin Hood and Charlotte's Web illustrated as bats in this story. It is super cute and definitely has that cozy autumn vibes. The other picture book I recommend is The Little Ghost Who Was a Quilt, which is an absolutely adorable picture book. In this world, all of the ghosts are sheets, and the sheets are light and can fly and float around. But our main character is a little ghost who was a quilt instead of a sheet, so he's not light enough to fly and float around. And he feels this difference very acutely, but in this book, he learns there's special things that quilt ghosts can do that the sheet ghosts cannot do, and he discovers to celebrate his differences. Super cute, beautifully illustrated, highly recommend. And those are my autumn vibes recs for you to read in the fall. Let me know what your favorite books are that give you autumn vibes, and I hope to see you in another video. Happy reading!